All right, today we're going to dive into one of the most critical, maybe even the most critical functions inside any great company, how they find, attract, and hire the right people. It's a whole strategic process called talent acquisition, and you're about to see it's so much more than just filling empty seats.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me ask you something. Just think for a second about the most successful companies out there. What is their single most powerful asset? Really, what is it? Their tech? Their brand? Maybe their patents?
Well, when you really get down to it, the answer is always this. It's the people. The ones who innovate, the ones who build, the ones who solve the impossible problems. The talent a company can bring together is the absolute foundation of everything it will ever achieve.
And that right there is the key. Once you see people as your core asset, hiring totally transforms. It stops being just some HR task and becomes your company's secret weapon for winning in the long run.
Okay, so this is where talent acquisition, or TA as it's often called, comes in. This isn't just about hiring for today's problems. Nope, it's a strategic, forward-looking process. It's all about figuring out where the business is headed and then building the teams with the talent and skills you're going to need to get there.
Now, this is where a lot of people get mixed up. Recruiting, that's tactical. It's reactive. It's about putting out a fire, filling an open job right now. Talent acquisition, though, is strategic and proactive. It's more like building the fire department. It's a long-term investment in a pipeline of talent that's going to drive the company forward for years.
I absolutely love this metaphor. A circulatory system, right? It brings oxygen and nutrients to every single part of the body, keeping it healthy, keeping it growing. Well, great talent acquisition does the exact same thing for a company. It's constantly bringing in fresh talent, renewing the organization's energy, its skills, and its strength.
So how does this whole system actually work? Well, it all starts with the first big phase, what we'll call casting the net. This is all about how companies find those potential candidates in the first place.
And let me tell you, it is not about just posting a job online and hoping for the best. Not anymore. Modern TA uses every tool in the toolbox. We're talking about building an amazing employer brand, actively sourcing people, using networks, and even connecting with universities to find the next generation of talent.
So first up is employer branding. This is basically the art of shaping your company's reputation out there in the job market. It's about making a promise to people, a promise about your culture, about growth, about doing meaningful work. When you get this right, the best people start coming to you.
Sourcing, on the other hand, is the active hunt. This is where recruiters become detectives. They're scanning LinkedIn. They're in professional communities. They're looking all over the world to find amazing people who might not even be looking for a new job. It's all about finding those hidden gems.
Okay, so you've cast the net and you've got a pool of fantastic candidates. Now comes the hard part, making the right choice. This phase is all about what's called selection intelligence. Basically, using real evidence and data to make the best possible hire.
The whole thing works kind of like a funnel, right? You're narrowing down your options at each step. It starts with qualification, just making sure the person has the basic skills for the job. Then you move to interviewing, where you dig way deeper. And finally, you have vetting, which is a super important step to manage risk and check someone's background and credibility.
And this gets to the science behind a modern interview. It's not just a casual chat. It's a behavioral signal decoding process. So instead of asking a lame question like, "Are you a team player?" a great interviewer asks, "Tell me about a time a project was at risk because of team conflict, and describe exactly what you did." You see? You're looking for evidence of past behavior, not just claims.
So the big takeaway here is this. The best hiring decisions are not based on a gut feeling. They're guided by cold, hard data and metrics, things like quality of hire, how long it takes to fill a role, and offer acceptance rates. This approach helps get rid of bias and, honestly, it just leads to way better decisions. All right, you've done the work. You've identified the perfect candidate. Now we're in the final phase, conversion and integration. This is the art of sealing the deal and bringing that person into the company successfully. You know, the offer letter is so much more than just a number. It's really the first formal agreement, the initial psychological contract. It sets expectations not just for salary, but for things like growth, autonomy, and belonging. It's the official start of the whole relationship.
And we have to remember, not all hires are created equal. Some hires, especially at the leadership level, can have a massive, game-changing impact. We're talking about people who can single-handedly steer strategy, shape the entire culture, and totally transform an organization.
So, how do you know if a hire was truly a home run? Well, it's often measured by what's called yield. And as you can see, it's not just one thing. It's a mix of their actual performance, how long they stick around, how well they adapt to change, and their positive contribution to the company culture. It's the total return you get on that hiring investment.
See, when you start thinking about hiring in terms of yield and long-term investment, you really begin to see talent acquisition for what it is. It's the engine that literally powers a company's future. And this brings us right back to that powerful idea of the circulatory system. By strategically bringing in new skills, new perspectives, and new capabilities, talent acquisition is constantly renewing the company's talent DNA. It's what keeps it innovative and competitive when the world is always changing.
And you know, a huge part of that renewal is all about building diversity. And this is not just about checking a box or following a rule. It is a core business strategy. Diverse teams are proven to be more innovative, they understand the market better, and they make the whole company more resilient. It's a massive advantage. So, the ultimate goal of all of this, really, is to constantly challenge old assumptions. The best companies out there don't just use the same old hiring playbook forever. They are always looking for a better way. Which brings us to one last, really provocative idea.
What if you just threw out the entire rule book? What if you rebuilt your whole hiring process from the ground up, from scratch? This is an idea called zero-based thinking. It forces you to question every single step, to get rid of hidden biases, and to design a system with only one purpose: to find and attract the absolute best people to build your future. So, what would you change?